Hi, I'm Bud Talbert. I'm a GFA missionary for the last 35 years in Alberta, Canada, in the cities of Calgary as a church planter and Edmonton as the starter of a Bible college and also associate pastor at a church in Edmonton. I was saved as a young man at the age of 20 and reasoned in my heart I should spend my life telling others what it took me so long to hear, that is the gospel. So I went to my pastor, asked him what I should do to become a priest. That was the only word I knew, but to become a pastor. And so I came to Bible school at Bob Jones University and received a degree in Bible and a master's degree in theology. So I knew that I wanted to be in the ministry, but it was through my exposure at school and in my home church that I understood that it would please the Lord for me to be on the mission field. I contacted GFA Missions and took a language test to see what fields I might qualify for. I talked to the folks at GFA asking where they could use me in the world, and they did give me some guidance. But I had a pretty twisted view of what a missionary field really was. I thought it required jungle, for instance. I thought it required perhaps the death of loved ones while I was on the field, because that happened to a lot of the missionaries that I had read the stories of. So as I went searching for what God wanted, I realized that what I needed from the Lord was clarity. Now at this point, several things were happening that I disregarded. I didn't think they were part of God's call for me. And one of them in particular was an acquaintance of mine who was a missionary in Nova Scotia in Canada, all the way over on the East Coast. And he said, I believe that God wants you in Calgary, Alberta. Well, Calgary was so different from my idea of what a mission field should be that I immediately dismissed it. And I would say, Lord, I will go anywhere for you. Anywhere you want me. And yet I hadn't thought really that I was just dismissing this constant reference. And the fellow wrote to me, he phone called me a number of times. And meanwhile, I'm looking for service in the Amazon and in Japan and all over other fields. I just wasn't really considering Canada as what the Lord's call was. And I would beg him for clear understanding. What I wanted was to be able to stand before the board of directors and say, I know that God has called me to such and such a field. I don't have any doubt as to what he wants me to do. So I was frustrated after a year and a half of searching for what God wanted me to do. Finally, I was back in Greenville. I had traveled lots of different places to do a survey trip. And I remember kneeling down beside my bed and just really pouring out all my frustrations before the Lord. And I said, God, I will even stay here for the rest of my life, if that's what you want. And while I'm praying, the phone rang. And it was this same fellow calling me again. And it occurred to me that I really wasn't taking that part of what I'm discovering about places that have needs as the will of God. I remember talking to him and thinking, this is where you want me to be. But I wanted to go check it out, so I went to a faculty member's office, a faculty member who had led a trip to Western Canada with students from Bob Jones, and he explained that the real need in Western Canada especially was for church planters in Calgary. And I was so amazed that the Lord made it perfectly clear through this gentleman who kept calling me, through talking with this faculty member, that I left that office that day with absolute certainty. And for the last 38 years, I've never had a question that I was in the place God wanted and doing what He wanted me to do. After 20 years of church planting, He put me in Edmonton, Alberta, and I started a Bible college. I didn't want to start one, I just wanted to teach in one. But I've been doing that for the last 15 years now, and it's been a joy to know every step of the way that I was doing exactly what He had called me to do.